It may surprise some people to know that Fallout 4, when launched, was the most successful video game launch in Bethesda's history. It sold over 12 million copies on launch day alone. It won numerous Game of the Year awards, and though some fans thought it did not change enough of the core formula, this was a game that released over 7 years after Fallout 3. Bethesda needed to craft an experience that was familiar to fans, but moved the series forward in a meaningful way. It is debatable how much they improved the core Fallout experience, if at all, but if either sales numbers or critical acclaim are metrics to go by, Fallout 4 was a very successful game. In this video, we will be discussing the reception and legacy of Fallout 4, and what the future of the Fallout franchise looks like, not to mention where Fallout 76 fits into all of this. Back when Fallout 4 released, it had been over 5 years since Fallout New Vegas had released, and over 7 years since Fallout 3. The hype for a new Fallout game was substantial, and at release, the game sold incredibly well and garnered what would be considered good to great reviews, with a Metacritic score of 88. Fans generally enjoyed the game, especially after such a long absence from the Wasteland. However, Bethesda had removed some key features of the series, such as meaningful player choice and expansive dialogue trees. Now, this was something that was sort of controversial. However, it generally comes with the territory with so much spoken dialogue associated with what was now a fully voiced male or female protagonist. Gone were the days of extensive dialogue options, and this, for hardcore longtime Fallout fans, left an undesirable taste in their mouths. For other players like myself who were introduced to the Fallout series in Fallout 3, Fallout is more about exploration, environmental storytelling, learning about how people lived and died before the war, and discovering new locations that continue to build upon the lore that has already been established. Vaults do this extremely well, and most of them contain their own individual storylines and mysteries for you to unravel. Beyond just broad exploration, discovering and investigating vaults is my favorite thing to do in each of the Fallout games that I have played. So, for players like myself, I believe that Fallout 4 delivered on what we were looking for in a new entry in the series. I certainly understand, and would quite enjoy, more expansive dialogue options and more than just black and white moral selections when I do have to make a choice. However, Bethesda's main focus seems to be on creating a huge world with all kinds of interesting locations to find and characters to meet. By that metric, I think they succeeded. Bethesda even included a base building tool in the game, something I highly doubt very many players were asking for. It was an interesting inclusion to the game, and while it wasn't something I particularly enjoyed, I can appreciate those that did, and it is great for those players that Bethesda took the time to incorporate it. At a minimum, it gave us something to do with all of the junk we collected throughout the Wasteland. Finally, I have one last point about Fallout 4, and that was that Inon Zor's soundtrack was amazing. It is definitely my favorite Fallout score and made exploring the Wasteland a much more enjoyable experience. Now, fast forward 3 years and Bethesda throws us something completely out of left field. It is Fallout 76. I am still not quite sure how Bethesda ended up moving forward with creating this game, but here we are. I think they took some fan feedback to the extreme and then ran with it. Yes, it is true that fans have requested the ability to play Bethesda games online with friends for years. However, I think that Bethesda took this out of context. I always thought it would be interesting to explore the Wasteland with maybe 1 or 2 friends who could jump in and out of each other's game. Bethesda took this idea to the extreme, and Fallout 76, an always online game without any other human NPCs, is what we got. I spent a few dozen hours in Fallout 76, to be fair. It still retains a core component of what I enjoy, and that is exploring the Wasteland and finding new and interesting locations. Unfortunately, it can only be played online, and you have to interact with other players. I don't have time to make e-friends, and being a guy with a job where most of my contemporaries are in their 40s and 50s, well, there's not a lot of gamers, to say it politely. This leaves me, and I assume plenty of other Fallout fans, on the outside looking in when it comes to Fallout 76. I've said it before and I will say it again. I wish there was a way Bethesda could create an offline mode so that I could still explore at my leisure without worry of being kicked off or having other players try to interact with me. I totally understand that this is not what Fallout 76 is about, but damn it, I just want to explore the Wasteland in peace. Cue the old man yelling at clouds meme. Still, there are fundamental issues with Fallout 76 that make it not anywhere near as interesting as other titles in the series. The generic enemy, called the Scorched, replacing raiders, lack any personality and as such, are a hindrance to the game at best. There aren't any human NPCs to interact with, and the robots take so damn long to talk that you want to pull your hair out. I get anxiety reading terminals in the game since it is always online and other players could be close by. Doing a quest with other players for the first time results in you having to read terminals as quickly as possible or outright skip them, thus robbing you of one of the best parts of the game. Holotapes suffer the same problems because they are impossible to hear when you're in combat, so I like to stand there and listen to the recording. Fallout 76 by design essentially discourages this kind of behavior. The most egregious omission from Fallout 76 is the lack of vaults, possibly the best part of any Fallout game, and while they technically exist, you cannot explore them. Bethesda says that they will be opened at some point in the future, but it will almost assuredly be a team event of some kind. This means that players like myself will miss out on the experience of exploring a vault at my leisure and uncovering the truth of what happened there. Bethesda has made it clear that there's a roadmap for Fallout 76 through at least early 2020. Who knows how much longer it will extend beyond that. But my guess is that their plan is to support the game into perpetuity, like the Elder Scrolls Online. This leads me finally to the main point of this video. What does the future of the Fallout series hold? I think that there will be a Fallout 5. However, I think that we will likely not see that game for at least another 7 to 10 years. In the meantime, I expect that Bethesda will continue to grow Fallout 76 into a better game and a better experience for Fallout fans in general. That said, the more successful they are at doing that, the longer the wait for Fallout 5 may be. You can see how the eventual success of the Elder Scrolls Online may have played a role in having Bethesda push back their other upcoming major games, those being Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6. My line of thinking here is as such. If the Elder Scrolls Online ended up failing, I doubt Bethesda would have even attempted an online Fallout game. I think they'd likely be putting the final touches on Starfield, which would have had all of their internal development support after Fallout 4 released, rather than splitting resources for Fallout 76. This would move up the eventual release date of the Elder Scrolls 6, of which I am still a firm believer that we won't see that game until the mid-2020s. A safe assumption would be that Fallout 5 comes several years after the Elder Scrolls 6 releases, and even if you're optimistic and think that the Elder Scrolls 6 comes out by 2023, that puts Fallout 5 likely around 2026 at the earliest, so approximately 8 years from now, give or take. That's quite a wait for the next mainline Fallout game, but it is not unprecedented. Fallout 3 to Fallout 4 was 7 years. The Elder Scrolls 5 to the Elder Scrolls 6 will likely be 11 or 12 years. The point is, we have quite some time to go. In the meantime, however, Bethesda will continue to update and refine Fallout 76. In this Catch-22 situation, either that game continues to get better and receives content updates for years, or it just ends up dying and we likely get the next Fallout game a little sooner. I think Bethesda has realized that there's a gap between their historical Fallout fan and the audience that is invested in Fallout 76 right now. They are trying to do more to bring those two user bases together, though I am not sure how successful that will be. There is still a significant portion of the Elder Scrolls fanbase that hasn't ever played the Elder Scrolls Online, and that game has been out for over 5 years now. There are a lot of people who see the word online and immediately tune it out, right or wrong. This is an issue somewhat unique to Bethesda though, who built their entire fanbase and really all of their success on the back of wholly single-player experiences. That people aren't openly embracing online versions of these games can hardly be surprising when guys like me just want to kick back, relax, and explore the wasteland in peace and at my own pace. I don't want to have to worry about being kicked out of the game, attacked by other players, or any of the other varieties of issues prevalent in online games, like weekly scheduled downtimes. I am sure I will jump back into Fallout 76 at some point, maybe when vaults finally open or they introduce human NPCs back into the game. That will tide me over until such a time comes that we see a proper follow-up to Fallout 4. So what are your thoughts on the Fallout series? How about Fallout 76? When do you think we may see another entirely single-player Fallout game again? Let's discuss in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Maybe ring the little bell. And as always, thank you so much for watching.